Hello everyone and welcome once again to Geekfest Rants. Today we are hitting episode 13, which is part 2 of the TV shows on hiatus special. We are once again picking it up from when we left off last time. Joining me now is Steve Avona, where we continue talking about all these shows on hiatus. Well, I have on the list, for me, the next one would be Rescue Me. This is one of these shows that I only caught it after somebody kept telling me about it. So I rented the first 2 or 3 seasons, and I got to the point where I then was starting to watch it live. As I caught up to the show, I started to watch it live, which is something that happened to me back when I used to watch Nip Tuck. It was a matter of people talking about it, and then I caught up. And I love the show, very funny. And again, in a way, it's obviously more than justified, but it's a black comedy. It's a black comedy. They tackle very serious issues, but there's always some comedy in it there. And I think we're getting close to the last season being the next one. So, do you watch Rescue Me?
Actually, no, I don't.
I think you would enjoy it. There's a definite arc to the show. But it's getting kind of to a point where it's like, all right, we've seen everything these people are all about. Let's start wrapping it up before it gets a little too over the top. So this would definitely be a good time when it comes back next year to wrap up the series, because it's been on for, I think, 5 or 6 seasons. It's been on for quite a while, and it's been a great vehicle for Dennis Leary.
Dennis Leary.
He's the star of the show, and I think he's one of the executive producers.
It doesn't reach the level of outrageousness that Nip Tuck did,
No. Nip Tuck, it was a whole other monster. This one it's very, it could get very violent, but they come back to the funny. They go back and forth, very serious. Yeah. The alcoholism storylines and 9/11 and Dennis Leary's character, because he hallucinates because of his alcoholism and because of what happened to him in 9/11. He lost a brother, a whole bunch of other people. Yeah. He sometimes talks to dead people, not in a supernatural way, but in a psychological kind of way. And they do have these, mostly every season finale, it's like, holy crap, what did they just do? They really pull the rug from under you, and they did it again this time. So, yeah, this is a good show that I like to see it wrapping up, because it's, like I said, before it gets bad, I want to see them finish it correct.
Finish it right, yeah.
Now, what do you have next on the line?
Okay, another show that I watch, which is ostensibly it's a kid's show, the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Yeah, what's that?
It's a spin-off of Doctor Who. And it deals with Sarah Jane Smith, who was probably the most popular of the Doctor Who companions in the 70s.
But wait, this is in addition to, what was it, Torchwood?
It's in addition to Torchwood,
so it's like the third spin-off.
Yeah, it's the third spin-off, and it's broadcast on the children's wing of the BBC. But in all honesty, it can be enjoyed by adults. It does deal with things. It's definitely a family show. But it's highly enjoyable. It's like Doctor Who light. Torchwood is Doctor Who dark, and she's a great character. I admit I was not a fan of the original run of Doctor Who that came before the resurgence in 2005. But it's something I'd like to get to one of these days. But this show, it's on its 4th series now. And they get they've had the actual David Tennant guest starred before he left Doctor Who. He's been on the show, and she's a nice throwback for the hardcore fans of Doctor Who watched her in the 70s. And as I said, it's a light show. It's family oriented, but the drama is good. The comedy is good. It's family, but it doesn't dumb it down. It assumes intelligence. But it's also fun. And, like I said, I like Doctor Who, and, all the spin-offs have been great, too.
Let's see. The next one I'm going to jump to, it's not on the list, but I have it off to the side here. One of them is Parks and Recreation, which is a show that's coming back, I believe, at some point to the Thursday night NBC lineup once Outsource stops. Now, I'm not sure if Outsource is a half-season series, or they only approved half, but I do know that I'm pretty sure that Park and Recreations is coming back to that time slot. So I don't know if that's the way it's going to work.
I'm not sure. I don't know if Outsourced has been renewed for the whole season yet, but I know Parks is coming back.
And again, Parks, I think this is the third season now, and when I first started watching it, I didn't like it too much because to me it looked like a bizarre clone of The Office. It was that style of jokes to the camera, everybody like that documentary look to a sitcom, which is bizarre. It's a single camera shoot, just like in The Office. But it kind of started growing on me. The characters started to become funnier and funnier. And now it's just another one of these shows that, okay, I'll watch it. It's part of the whole lineup. Not as good as some of the other ones. I still like Community better and The Office, obviously. But this one is in there. So it's kind of like if it's there, I might as well watch it.
Yeah, they definitely, with some of these Thursday shows, NBC, they stick them in the middle of like 30 Rock and The Office. Well, all right, I might as well
try
watch
them
it.
if they're good and good, then move on.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
Another FX show that is not on this list is one I just finished watching, which is, I think it was the 12th episode or 13th episode. I'm not sure. It's one of these short seasons. It's called Louie, and it's a comedy show starring the comedian Louis C.K., it's very, very funny. It's a very adult comedy. It's single camera film style, not sitcom-y. It's it's a little bit of Curb Your Enthusiasm, kind of realistic, real situations. It's half hour long. Definitely recommend it. When you have a chance to see it because it is hilarious. The guy is just great.
Okay. I didn't give the show a chance. It's ironic. We were just talking about it. He played Amy Poehler's boyfriend on Parks and Recreation last season.
That's right. He was a cop.
Yep.
That's right. And I believe this is his third series. He used to have another one called Lucky Louie, I think on HBO or Showtime. I'm not sure, one of those. And it was a similar kind of thing, but different. It was more of a videotape in front of studio audience type of look. But this one is great. A lot of big guest stars. Ricky Gervais was there. A whole bunch of very funny people. And again, when it comes on DVD, pick it up. You are not going to regret it.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to now jump to a show that I don't think we've talked about yet. That to call it my new version of Nip Tuck doesn't even come close to it. Have you ever heard of a show called Spartacus, Blood and Sand?
I've heard of it, yeah.
All right. To describe the show visually is, imagine the movie 300. It's that kind of style. First of all, it's taking place in the Roman Empire, in the gladiator type of environment. It's the story of Spartacus. I don't know how accurately historical it is, but that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with that character being enslaved and then having to fight for his life, basically, for his food, for his meal, for everything. He's a gladiator. Now, the look of the show is all 300. It's all green screen, slow-mo, bullet time, super. I couldn't tell you how super violent the show is. It reminds me of when I first saw Conan the Barbarian in terms of the unbelievable brutality and gore of these fight scenes. Now, one of the executive producers is Sam Raimi, so that might tell you a little bit of where we're coming from. It is just, I cannot describe it, and it's my favorite new guilty pleasure show.
Right.
It is super stylized, sex and violence, unbelievable. They go so nuts on both directions. They don't care. Obviously this is not a family show, but they're not shy of anything that you can possibly think of when it comes to sex and violence.
Okay.
It's kind of and it's funny because they take like historical things that you might not like things that are completely normal now that you might not even look at twice. They deal with that in that past tense. So they do certain things that these people don't even blink. It's like the most normal things to do, and you're looking at it, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. It's, who else? There's not a lot of big names in it, except Lucy Lawless is in it. She plays one of these rich wife of the owner who runs I forget what they call it, but he's training all these gladiators.
The slave stables?
Yeah, there's a guy from... if you remember the movie The Mummy, the sidekick in The Mummy, the British guy, he's like he's one of the big leads in this show. He's like the owner.
Okay.
The guy who plays Spartacus, I don't recognize him. He's a new guy. I don't know. The guy who guy who trains Spartacus is a guy from 300. He played one of the bad guys in 300.
Oh. Okay. Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the guy who the lead is dropping out of the show.
He had a recur.
Has cancer.
Yeah, he had it before and it went away, and this time it came back apparently, and he had to drop out. And from what I understand, the show, they filmed the first season, and then they started filming, and I think they finished filming a TV movie, I guess to have a little something extra to have. which is, I think it's a prequel to everything else. However, second season's coming about, and I'm not sure what they're going to do. I think I heard they're going to recast the lead, which is unbelievable.
They are going to recast the lead now. I don't know. This is not confirmed, but they are talking to the guy who was the lead on Prison Break as the lead for this. I can't remember his name. I don't know if he'd even work in the role, but he's the only name that I've heard as a replacement.
I only hope that if the guy gets better eventually, they can bring him back, because you're starting to warm up to these characters, and he's good. He's damn good at this. But I'm telling you, this is again. Out of everything that's out there that you probably have not seen, and most of our geek friends who are into really, really adult,
stylized
super violence and R-rated, even beyond R-rated. I mean, I'm not saying this is unrated or X-rated, but it's a hard R. They just they're not afraid to show both men and women at their different environments.
Doing that thing, yeah.
and in a way, it's one of these things that it makes sense, because you if you want to be realistic about a period in time that was very violent and very sexual, I guess you can't shy away from some of these topics. And
no, that's why cable is great.
I kept telling Kim, it's kind of like it's kind of like Conan meets True Blood.
There you go.
But I'm telling you, Steve, with all the stuff we've seen, you have not. This is up there in terms of gore and violence. It is,
okay,
we've seen a lot. That's the thing. It fits the show. It's not, as far as I'm concerned, it's not gratuitous. It fits that picture.
Okay, so, all right. Well, I trust you, and it looks like I'll be looking into this show very shortly.
Definitely. It just came out on Blu-ray, so I've been renting them. It's only 3 discs. Because it's a cable 12-episode, one of these mini seasons. Now let's see. After this show, I think have we talked about V?
No, but could I just do one quick one? Southland.
Oh, that's right.
Which is on
and
TNT.
That hopped a couple of networks, right?
Yeah, well, actually, it was canceled by NBC, which they probably really regret, because when they do Jay Leno at 10 o'clock, they knocked out all their 10 o'clock scripted programming, and Southland was a victim, was a victim, and it was probably their most critically acclaimed show. And the saving grace for it was that at the time NBC canceled it, they had already filmed 6 episodes of their second season. So rather than just dump them, TNT decided to, they said, oh, well, this is perfect. We'll air them. The shows are already done. And now it's been renewed by TNT for, I guess, one of those cable, 13 episode seasons. It's probably my favorite cop show for sure. When it was on the network, it pushed the boundaries of what could be on network television. And now that it's on a cable network, they can push it even more. And it's Los Angeles. It's filmed documentary style, like The Shield. Not as hardcore as The Shield, but it gets into some pretty hardcore subjects. And all the characters are great. Actors are great. Sharp, crisp writing. And I'm really glad that TNT decided to keep it alive. It has a real huge fan base.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people who watch that show, and it's really, from what I understand, one of the last. I mean, forget this season, but up to now, it's one of these last street cop shows. Not so much the procedurals, but the rookie. The guy walking the beat kind of gritty show.
Yes.
Which we've lost that, in a while. But I have heard good things about it. Let's see. Our second to last show we just mentioned before is V, which we talked about before, where it was supposed to come back a little later, but I think they earlied it up even more now. I think it's supposed to be November now, so it's only a couple of weeks away from returning.
Actually, I'll just correct you there. It's coming back in January.
Oh, they did push it to January.
Yeah, January 4th, I believe. I just read a press release.
Oh, they must have changed it again, because they have it here listed as November. Yeah. As we mentioned, I could have sworn we talked about this before, but this is the show that when they flipped the coin between this and Flash Forward, this is the one that made it. And I can't wait to come back. It's probably one of the hardest sci-fi things that's left.
Absolutely.
The event is pretty sci-fi, but this guy can't get more sci-fi than this. And the big story this coming season is that Jane Badler, the original Diana, will return as a character named Diana, who is the mother of whatever the heck the new bad guy.
Morena Baccarin,
whatever her name is.
That's the actress's name. Yeah,
she will be. So I can't wait. That's interesting. We'll see where it goes. It's worth. I mean, I'll watch it. I've been pretty happy with how they reimagined the show, and some things are similar, some things are very different, and they put a nice little twist on it. So it has me interested.
Yeah, absolutely, and it has a lot of But besides the fact that it's a hard sci-fi show, you've got a collection of actors who have been in sci-fi before, and so that makes it even easier for me to watch. And I like it very much. I like the direction that they're headed in, and I like the fact that they did keep a little bit back from the audience, things that we kind of knew from the original series, but they haven't explored yet. And I'm curious to see their take on it, but I'm very eager.
Yeah, some things some things didn't that we weren't used to happened, and some things that happened really fast on the original series have not happened yet. So it's good that they're not exactly copying it scene by scene, shot by shot. Right. So that's kind of cool. Now, unless you have any other show, my last big show that's coming up in only about 2 weeks, I think, or maybe even less by the time this airs, is The Walking Dead. I'm there. Now, I already talked about this show on one of our past Comic-Con review shows, but this is the big show that, as far as I'm concerned, that I'm looking forward to. I don't think it's ever been tried before for I don't want to call it network, it's cable, but it's kind of prime-timey kind of environment.
Yeah, it's pushing it for cable as far as I'm concerned.
Now, I'm not sure if this show is an original idea in terms of somebody saying, I want to do a zombie show, or if it's a reaction to all this vampire stuff that's out there. It might be like the horror genre is becoming popular, but who wants to see a fifth or a fourth vampire show? What else is out there? Right. And the zombie, landscape is huge. Mm-hmm. Now, you have a comic book background. Have you read any of this stuff before?
No, as a matter of fact, I haven't, and I have a feeling that what I'll probably end up doing is grabbing it right before the show airs, because I would like to have a little sense of it before I see the show. But yeah, I mean, you talk about the genre, if you could call zombies films a genre, have exploded in the last 10 years, with movies like 28 Days Later or 28 Weeks Later, and the remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
And, I mean, so zombies are pretty popular these days. Zombieland, which was a hilarious take on the genre.
And Shaun of the Dead was very popular too.
Shaun of the Dead was another one which I absolutely loved. So yeah, I mean, I guess television is ready for zombies. Yeah. I'm ready for it.
We were lucky enough to attend the panel at Comic-Con where the director, Frank Darabont, and the producer, Galen Hurd, they were there answering questions and talking about the show, along with about 5 of the main cast members. And if anybody's interested, you go back a few shows, download that show. That's the one we talked about, Comic-Con. It's the Part 2, I believe, the Comic-Con Part 2 special. If anybody wants to listen to it, we go really deep into it. And pretty soon, we're also going to be doing a recap. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to air before or after this particular show, but we're going to do a recap of the first episode of the premiere episode, which is on Halloween night. And I'm sure by the time the show ends, because the show is this first season is only 6 episodes. So by the time the show ends, we'll probably do a recap of what we call the first season, even though it's very short. And it's almost certain that the show is going to get renewed because the buzz is really strong right now.
Absolutely. I can't wait for it.
Definitely a one to put on our list. Now, I believe that pretty much wraps it up for our shows on hiatus, or shows that are about to come pretty soon. The only quick topic we should tackle before we wrap up here is shows that have already been canceled or look like they're being canceled or they're about to be canceled. From what I've seen here officially, there's 2 shows, one called Lone Star, which is a Fox show, and the other one is My Generation, an ABC show. Do you remember anything about those shows? Lone Star, isn't it a cop show or something?
No, actually, Lone Star was more of a soap opera, kind of in the spirit of
oh, good,
Dallas.
I don't feel that bad.
Me neither. I didn't even give it a chance. And the other show
My Generation?
Was My Generation, which was about a group of classmates 10 years after they graduated and where their lives turned into. It sounded kind of soapy.
Now, the other show that I don't see on this list is a show apparently they stopped shooting. They haven't canceled, but they stopped shooting, and that is the Jimmy Smith's NBC Outlaw.
Outlaws?
Outlaw.
Yeah.
That has been stopped.
Yeah, that's dead.
So hopefully, that's it for now so far, what's been canceled. Unfortunately, by the time we air this episode, they might cancel a few more.
I do know that No Ordinary Family has been
That's
renewed.
good. That's a good thing to hear.
For the whole season.
That's a good thing to hear, especially since I was looking at Ain't It Cool, where they post some of the ratings, and that right now the No Ordinary Family is not really hitting it out of the park as far as the ratings go. And they were starting to get a little worried, but good. At least we can lock it down. We're going to give us at least one more. I'm glad about that. Any other things I'm forgetting, Steve?
No, I think we've covered just about everything.
Cool. Well, I think that will then wrap it up for today's show. This was the second part of our final wrap-up of all of the shows that we've are waiting for to start, or in some cases that we're not going to see for almost a year. Because of the summer break and the winter break and all the breaks coming up. For Steve Avona and myself, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us in Geekfest Rants. And please come listen to us next time, where we have some more shows for you. Thanks, everybody.